The Case for Web Accessibility with Obinna Ekwuno.
So yeah, okay. So on our screen, you can see that what I have here is an elephant, right? And you might be wondering why start a talk with a picture of an elephant? Because I mean, makes no sense, right? But I'm trying to communicate something. And now, if you look at this image on the screen, you can see that this is an elephant, and we know this because of the trunk and then the features. But then when you look like like to the feet of the elephant, you're wondering how many legs does it have? Does it have three legs? Is it work? Is it walking? What's happening? And I just want to pass across that the essence of the web is to have like information pass from one point to another, from point A to point B, and make sure that the way I've explained this is the way you're seeing it. But what happens when you get to this point B and everything I said in point A doesn't come directly at you the way I meant it to? Wouldn't it be better if I gave you a clearer explanation of what I was trying to show? That this elephant was actually just standing in a place, and I've just created a visual illusion of its moving, or of it having like more than four legs. Or wouldn't it be even better if I took you through the process of drawing out this elephant? If I took you step by step and made sure that you understood what I was trying to get across to you. Today, I want to make a case for accessibility. My name is Obinna Ekwuno, and I'm mostly on Twitter at Obinna Speaks. I tweet about a lot of stuff. Sorry, I wanted to apologize for like starting this live stream late. I was doing another live stream, so I had to just jump in here. I'm a software engineer at Gatsby, and I'm a media developer expert for Cloudinary, which means that I do like some media stuff. I talk a lot about how image formats on like the web, and like how we can like improve the way we load images using a tool like Cloudinary. And then I write technical articles, and I love French toast. So before we move further, I want to focus on where we are currently as an industry. The Every time we have like a conversation about accessibility as in our industry, we see a lot of like trends or like talks about how it is undervalued or it is not implemented at all. If you look at this tweet by Egghead, where they just asked a random question, what trend is being overlooked by most developers? And Massey Sutton, who's a very well-known accessibility advocate, says that it's not a trend, but accessibility is frequently overlooked or forgotten despite our best efforts to educate and enlighten. Now, this is something that happens quite often. You see like people advocate for web accessibility. You see a lot of talks on Twitter saying this is not a feature, don't treat it as an afterthought, do this. So we keep a bunch of us like keep pushing for it to be taken seriously. And then you would see that currently as an industry, for us to be advocating this much for it to be taken seriously, you would see that we don't really take it seriously, which is why we're having this kind of talks, which is why this is a case for accessibility, right? You also see like a bunch of other people tweeting and contributing, like Jake Abba saying, "Oh, this accessibility is not an add-on." Most people trying to tweet and explain what it is, and you have like thought leaders like just bringing out their own experiences on implementing accessibility to their platform. But I want to state here today, and because most people always say that, oh, we're going to implement accessibility eventually, like when we're done optimizing our platform and all of those things. But I want to state here today that accessibility is as important, and if not more important than performance, because people have to use your platform, they have to be able to use your platform before they know it's fast, or it does stuff like correctly, or as it's supposed to be. Imagine if like you create an application for users, and more than 50% of your users cannot use the application. How do they know it's fast? And also, when you look at the industry, you see a lot of accessibility debt everywhere. You have like people saying, "Oh, we don't have the facilities for that. We're going to do that eventually. It's going to be later when we have the budget to hire an accessibility expert. We're not going to do this right now," because I've heard all of these excuses, and every time I hear this excuse, I'm like, okay, okay, cool, but give it to me, I'll do it, because we need to make a conscious effort to like making the web accessible. So what is missing in our process? I'm going to point out a couple of things that I have noticed that is missing in the process of accessibility. And the thing that strikes me is that we tend to think of accessibility as implementing code, always implementing code. That's why everybody's like, I don't want to have to deal with screen readers. I don't want to go through the tussle of having to do user interviews. I don't want to have to go and start looking for what the correct area label to this, or nah, this is just too much work. But I want to point out some things that's missing in the process, which makes us get to that point where we're like, oh, I can't do this because it seems like too much work, right? We lack a true sense of inclusion. Now, hear me out. I always hear this word being thrown around in the tech space, especially on Twitter. You'd see, oh, inclusion, this inclusion, that, and then inclusion always comes with its cousin, diversity. Like you would say, oh, yes, we want to get like a diverse team, or we want to get a diverse speaker lineup or something. That's one thing. It's okay to have a diverse everything you want to get. But if there's no sense of inclusion there, even when you've gotten all the diverse points of views you want to get, it all amounts to rubbish. So diversity is being invited to the party and inclusion is being asked to dance. If you want to if you look at our industry, you'd see that yes, we really need to get like a proper sense of inclusion, because it's one thing to say, okay, this app is going to work towards like Susie said, I'm very passionate about the African ecosystem because I lived in Nigeria, a place where like we have slow 3G. And now like I currently live in the UAE, which is a place that this is the first time I'm seeing like 500 Mbps like fast, right? And then I'm used to very slow internet, and now I'm in a place where I'm seeing very fast internet. So if you want to like if you want to make an application that says I'm going to work in all of these areas where like there's slow internet and there's fast internet, but then you say, okay, it will work sometimes in the place that there's slow internet, but it will work always in this place. You're not being inclusive. Now, another question I like to ask is, in that dance floor that you're inviting people to dance, is the was the wheelchair ramp built with it, or did it come afterwards? So are people are able to get into that dance floor? Are people that are not that are not able to like get into it, would they have like trouble getting their wheelchair like up to the dance floor? Which brings me to a conversation I like to have about universal design and accessible design. Now, when you think of universal design, I'm going to show you two photos, and yeah, I'd like you to just take these photos, take a mental picture of these photos. You see this first photo. This is so I went out one evening, and I went to a building very close to my house, and I saw two different types of stairs in the same building. This was the first kind. There was a staircase, and then you can see that this ramp here was put afterwards. In the same building, just very close to this place, you can see this other. I had to take these photos because I'm like, yes, this would help me in my talk. This in the same building, in this exact space, you can see that this is like stylish, but at the same time, it's made for anybody, right? It's made for anybody being able to just get up to this platform. Now, when you think of universal design, this is a universal design. This is made for anybody that's able to access it at any point. If you want to bring this down to like tech, you would say, okay, cool. If we before I explain the tech aspect, let's say if you had like a door, for example, the round knobs might not be the best. It might not be the best for people that have a motor deficiency. Like they're not able to like open the doors with their hands. How do you make that a universal design? You might probably want to get like the normal handlebar, so they can use any part of their body to put pressure on that and open the door. If you bring it down to tech, it's like, okay, cool. I want to build an application that's a PWA. So regardless of where you are, especially if you're in a place where it's not you're not able to get like fast internet, and you will not have to get some certain pages you would get you you don't have to get like some certain pages that you like have to get like all the time. You can just get it once and then keep it there, right? That is a way of thinking of a universal way of building for the web. Another thing that I feel that we lack in our industry is empathy, right? And hear me out. People the natural way of human thinking is I solve my own problems first. That's like normally human beings are meant to like survive. But then even in the airplane, before the plane goes up, they tell you that you put your own if anything happens, you put your own oxygen mask first before you start help another person. The reason for this is because even as human beings, our natural instinct is to care for self. If you look at all the products that have all the big products that have like helped change the way we think of human life, it all started from how do I solve my own problem? I'll give you an example. Airbnb. I'm trying to travel and I don't want to, I can't afford a big hotel. How do I get a stranger to allow me to stay in their home? That's that was the problem Airbnb was trying to solve. Uber. I want to get to a place that so far I don't have a car. How do I get somebody to pick me up and take me to this place and also make it worth their time? So somebody solved their own problems and then started solving the problems of other people. As these companies grow and as they expand, you see that they start to add like more and more like views and then more inclusion into the way that they think. But there's also something tricky about empathy. The the empathy we have as humans might not be enough to solve everyone's might not be enough to solve everyone's problems. Now, when building a team, it's important to get different views. And the tricky thing about it is if you look, I read an article that said that the average web accessibility expert is older than the average web developer expert. And this is not like to call out anyone on age or anything, but it's natural that the more you grow as a human, the more sense of empathy you get. And the reason you get like a wider sense of empathy is not because maybe you're a nice person, but I like to believe everyone's a nice person until proven otherwise. But then it's mostly because now you have a selfish interest. If you go to like 60, I'm 24, so like I probably don't know what I'm talking about. But if you got to like 60 and then you had like bad knees and then there's so much stairs in your building, you would say, nah, we need to get like some elevators here because now you're thinking of your own problem. And when you get the elevator, you see that everyone else, even young people that thought I want to like save the time and not like run up the stairs, we're not trying to burn like do cardio or anything. You get up to like the place like that you're trying to get. It makes everyone's life easy. So, like Yoda would say, much to learn, you still have. And just as an effect, I have a Yoda figure here. Love this. Someone got this for me. And then, yeah, I digress. You need to get all the views you can to build it to build diversity on your team. So employ people from different walks of life. From get ideas from people from like their own pain point perspective. If you're trying to solve a problem and you can only see it in one way, then maybe you're not solving the problem for everyone. Maybe you're just solving your own problem, and that's okay. But then, if you want to expand, you need to get like more views on stuff. Building your team. When you're building your team, you have to note that everyone that's part of this process is a part of the experience. And from the product, the program manager to down to the developer to the designer to the marketing team to everybody on the team is part of this experience. So you need to make sure that people are able to contribute and everyone has like a clear sense that accessibility is important in what we are trying to do. We're trying to make sure that we cater for people's needs. And I know that at somewhere along the line, you would wonder, can I solve everyone's problem? But we'll get to that. But if you notice that everyone on your team is part of the experience, you might try to like get people that understand what's what you're trying to do so that you avoid having people like me on your team saying, whose side are you on? Especially when somebody says, we'll think of accessibility down the line, the roadmap. I'm like, no, you can get it, you can start building from the scratch and you don't need to overthink it. It's kind of like adding semantic text to your using semantic syntax, adding proper descriptions, adding like adding what's it called, using services that allow you to like scale up, add alt text to your images, the simple things before you start to like push on, okay, how do we change a this to that, or how do I do this, and then you're like, I'm stressed out, I can't do this anymore. Another thing I want to focus on is the product. Now, while building the product, there's always this tendency for people to want to do it their way. Like, for example, I used to work with this design. I have a friend that's a designer. We used to work on side projects. He would always like say, I don't like how the normal buttons look. I want to do like a button that does this and does that. And I'm like, bro, all this is nice, but if we can, we need to be able to use the button element and use what is provided. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try to do something that is totally not accessible, but then because it looks nice doesn't mean that it feels nice, right? So you need to like make sure that you're using like convention, but then you can add your own touch. You can add your own design of something. Like this shirt I'm putting on is a conventional like t-shirt, right? But then it has like its logo, so it's different from polo t-shirt, for example. Because when you try to reinvent the wheel, you have the user wondering, this is a bicycle or this is just a statue or something. And I just want to put this out there that links should be used for navigation and buttons should be a call to action, because most people confuse the two and then it creates a lot of problems. Like imagine if I turned off the lights in my living room and I turned it back on, and I'm in someone else's living room. That would that wouldn't be it wouldn't be nice, right? So let's not do that to our users. Let's do the right thing. And I mentioned this problem before when I said, can you solve everyone's accessibility needs? And the answer is no. You can't solve everybody's accessibility needs, but you can solve as much as you can the way that you can the product that you're trying to build. It's always important to say, it's always important to ask yourself the question of, have I really done all that I can? And also, let's try to like do like research when we're trying to like build for a product. So you want to get like research, you want to do user interviews, you want to ask people from their own perspectives, you want to get all of those things, you want to collaborate with people that are in your industry, if that works for you, or like, try to just really just get the information that you that you can. Another thing to do with your research that you've gotten is to create a knowledge base. So it's always nice to have a place for people to reference. Anyone that comes into your company or comes into your team knows that, hey, on this team we take accessibility seriously. We try to make sure that we are adding the things where it's supposed to be, and we're doing the best that we can. Pay people for their time. So when you're doing these interviews, and when you're doing like all of the and when you're doing like all of the research and getting all of the knowledge that you need to be able to build your product that would eventually make you money, pay people that are helping you to do this. It's important to pay these people. And after you build, please test the product. It's very important to make sure that it works. Test it by yourself, give it to people that you've built it for, see how they use it. I've always had this, I've asked my friend that's a designer, I'm like, if you design something and you give it to somebody that is not in tech, and you say, maybe you give it to like a business person and say, hey, take, can you use this app? What do you think this app does? And this person tells you the total opposite of what you built the app to do, then you see that you have to go back to the drawing board. And when you're done testing and doing all of that, you need to maintain the documentation that you've kept for it. You need to make sure that the processes are set in place. It's good to provide as much context as you can as to why you got into the decisions that you did, and what goes where. And I just want to end this talk by saying that I believe that we can build a web that accommodates everyone, one piece of accessible code at a time. If we just sprinkle little bit of love and humanity into the codes that the code that we write and we build for the products that we're building for, I'm sure that we can make a better web for everyone. May the force be with you, and thank you so much.
Thanks for watching.